Good Monday afternoon. Welcome in to Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. It's a lot easier to remember what day it is when you start on Monday. Last week I struggled.
I'll tell you what, the next time we have a holiday on a Monday, you come do the show anyway.
I might have to. That will help me.
I'm taking the day off, but you go ahead.
Oh, man. Welcome into the Lee Company studio. I'm Chris Yow. He's Mo Patton, and we are collectively Main Street Sports Today. That's who we are. It's our tag team name.
We are not a collective, though.
The three of us are.
Well, I mean,
if you count Justin, I guess.
There's no. You hear collective, you think NIL. I don't.
No,
we're not throwing any money around. Sorry.
Wish we could.
Oh.
We can help. We can help another business throw some money around. Maybe
we could help another business throw some money around. As a matter of fact,
I'm just saying, if you are looking.
So if you are looking to throw some money around, get at us.
Oh, man. Well, it's Reaction Monday, and we've got a fantastic show ahead. David Ubben's going to join us from The Athletic. Obviously, we'll continue to talk SEC football. Told you this story's not going away, and we're not going to let it. Because what better to talk about on June 5th than SEC football that's 3 months away?
Yeah, well, I mean, Jeff Helm be damned, you know. I mean, it's out here, and a lot of folks want to hear about it. Jeff, maybe not, but a lot of folks do. So.
And we've also got Joseph Sullivan. He'll join us, former sports editor at the Boston Globe. We'll talk a little NBA finals. Crazy game last night. So plenty to get to. We'll talk Braves as well. NCAA baseball and
speaking of crazy,
much more. Yeah, speaking of crazy, right now I was about to update the rundown with the Women's College World Series score, Mo, but
done it.
Well, it can't be updated definitively yet.
There's no more to update than there already has been.
It is what it is. So as we are patiently awaiting the winner of maybe game one, I don't know. We'll see, because if necessary, could follow. Mm-hmm. But yeah, a lot to get to, and we can do that, and we should. Mm-hmm. On the rundown.
This is the rundown.
The Monday Rundown is brought to you by Zion Christian Academy. ZCA offers a faith-based, Christ-centered education in Murray County. Give them a call today at 931-388-5831 or visit zioneagles.org to schedule your appointment today. Zion Christian Academy, prepared for college, equipped for purpose.
Major League Baseball action over the weekend. Brewers down the Reds in 11 innings on Friday, 5-4. Then they took the next two as well, 10-8 and 5-1. It's not a sweep though because they play again today. Pirates did take 3 from the Cardinals as well, 7-5, 4-3, and 2-1. Astros took 2 of 3 over the weekend from the Angels, 6-2, 9-6 before falling to the Angels 2-1.
Ignore that.
No,
Just ignore that.
Charlotte, huh? I was a little
Just
confused.
Ignore it.
Diamondbacks, 1 game won over the Braves 3-2, but the Braves bounced back with a pair, 5-2 and 8-5 against the Diamondbacks. And the Cubs defeated the Padres 2-1, fell 6-0, and then in Sunday's not finale, it's 4-game set. Sunday's game, it was Cubs 7, Padres 1. Ron Weathers unfortunately took the loss in that one. Minor league action, it was Charlotte winning on Friday 4-3. The Sounds bounced back 5-3 on Saturday, but fall on Sunday 10-8.
Women's College World Series action over the weekend. On Saturday, Oklahoma run-ruled Tennessee 9-0 in 5 innings. Florida State with a 3-1 win over Washington. Yesterday, Tennessee stayed alive with a 3-1 win over Oklahoma State, while Stanford eliminated Pac-12 rival Washington 1-0. NCAA baseball over the weekend. Vanderbilt opened the Nashville Regional with a 12-2 win over Eastern Illinois, but fell to Oregon 8-7 on Saturday and was eliminated as the top seed 2-1 by Xavier yesterday. Over at Clemson, the host Tigers downed Lipscomb 12-5. The Bisons were eliminated by Charlotte 9-2. Tennessee then defeated Charlotte 8-1, defeated Clemson 6-5 in a classic in 14 innings on Saturday night, and won that regional with a 9-2 victory yesterday over Charlotte. NBA Finals, the Heat evens up that series against the Nuggets with a 111-108 win last night. That series is 1-1 coming back to Miami. And in the Stanley Cup Final, Game 1, Vegas downs Florida 5-2.
We go now to the WNBA. The Liberty down in the sky. A lot of really good games, by the way, over the weekend. It was New York 77, Chicago 76, Washington Mystics 75, Dallas Wings 74. The Aces edged the Dream 92-87, and in overtime it was Los Angeles 99, Phoenix 93. On Saturday, a couple of close ones as well. Minnesota gets by Washington 80-78. LA wins again over Seattle 92-85. It was an 80-74 win for Connecticut over Dallas. Chicago got an 86-82 win over New York. That's a big win. And the Las Vegas Aces 84, Indiana Fever 80. In Major League Soccer action on Saturday, I missed this, forgot to put it in. The Nashville FC picked up a win. I don't remember. I think it was 2-1 over Dallas. Yeah,
That would be the Nashville SC.
Is that not what I said?
You said F.
SF. It's all the same.
Ah,
FC Dallas 1. Nashville Soccer Club 2. So that's good.
you just gave the score back.
I did, and I did it on purpose because I was FCing.
Major League Baseball today. Houston goes to Toronto for a 6:07 start. Milwaukee's at Cincinnati, first pitch 6:10 at 7:05. The Cardinals are at Texas, and at 8:10, the Cubs wrap up their series at Petco Park against the Padres. Women's College World Series, Oklahoma just took a 4-2 lead on a Tiara Jennings 2-run double in the top of the 9th. Sooners lead Stanford 4-2, middle of 9. At 6 o'clock tonight, you've got Florida State and Tennessee. That game can be seen on ESPN. Tennessee needs to win and force a game 2, which would follow, in order to get to the championship series against the Oklahoma Stanford winner.
All right, now we go to college baseball. Florida down Texas Tech 6-0 earlier today. Does that force an if necessary game? I don't.
No, I think that's it. I think they had each. I think that was the if necessary game.
All right. LSU currently leads in the top of the fourth over Oregon State 4-0. Arkansas and TCU, as well as Penn and Southern Miss, are both in the top of the first. They just threw out the first pitch moments ago. Oregon State and LSU would play an if necessary game at 5 o'clock tonight, just FYI. Coastal Carolina and Duke also at 5. Indiana, Kentucky at 5. And Texas A&M Stanford on ESPN2 at 8 p.m. tonight. And in the Stanley Cup Finals, Game 2 of that one, the Panthers are at Vegas and the Golden Knights at 7 o'clock on TNT. And that is your rundown. Shoo.
Yeah, that was the if necessary game. Florida defeated Texas Tech 7-1 yesterday to force today's if game.
It's a big win for the SEC and for Florida.
Yeah, considering Florida had lost to Texas A&M earlier in the tournament. So, I guess in the 1-0 game.
Yeah. I'll tell you, the baseball, the regionals got kind of crazy over the weekend with weather and everything else. Obviously, Tennessee didn't have to deal with it as much as others did, but Vols get a big win, and everybody else kind of had to wait around.
Yeah, a lot of, like you said, a lot of these regionals were affected by weather in some way, shape, or form, and a lot of games today. I think there were 7 of the 16 regionals that leaked over into today. So, and I tell you, I'm intrigued by that Southern Miss Penn game that started here just a few minutes ago down in Auburn, because Tennessee gets that winner, and maybe they host, maybe they don't.
I'll be interested to see what comes up Tuesday in that super regional meeting. But I think that if a 4 seed wins the regional, they should automatically host. It should just be a rule. Listen, you go out there and you beat the other 3 teams in your regional. By George, you ought to get to host. That's just my opinion. Now, of course they did it a little uniquely, squeezing Auburn like 6 times, and Auburn couldn't figure it out.
There's still a place for small ball.
Apparently, it must be in
it must be in at Plainsman's Park over the weekend.
Well, yeah.
So.
No,
if you see that a team can't defend it,
keep
why not?
doing it. No,
and if you've got guys that can get it down,
that's the most important part. Is do you have guys who can put it on the ground? And if you do, shoot. These days,
until they can get you out,
I don't disagree at all. And kind of a tough go of it for Auburn.
It was. And John Cohen, who is the chair of the selection committee and also the Auburn AD, kind of had to defend Auburn being were they the number 5?
No, they were.
No, they were the 13.
Yeah.
Okay, my fault. Yeah, because they match up with Clemson, who was the 4. So yeah, okay, but there was some concern as to whether or not Auburn really should have been a national seed. Yeah. And I'm sure this doesn't help any when they go 2-0.
No, they
Who did they beat?
Wait, no, I guess they did, because Samford and Southern Miss played yesterday.
Auburn went 2-0.
Sure did.
Yeah. Lost to Penn 6-3 in the opener and lost to Southern Miss 7-2.
I'll tell you that I watched the early part of that Southern Miss Auburn game, and there was a home run in that one. That was just an absolute, just massive shot. So, yeah, look, the regionals this week weren't super kind to the SEC. Obviously,
Well, I mean, when you get what? 10 teams in?
in a tournament,
Yeah.
I think it was 11.
No.
Was it not?
No, Georgia, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, and Missouri did not get in.
I thought Missouri got in. That being said, still got a chance. Florida's in. Tennessee's in. Still got-
Alabama's in.
Alabama's in. Still got LSU, Arkansas, Kentucky, and Texas A&M who could still get in, which is pretty wild.
7 in the supers.
I mean, that's nearly half the teams. So you would take that.
7 is half.
I thought there's 16 teams. Are there not 16
Not
teams?
yet.
Oh, but I mean, but there would be.
Texas and Oklahoma aren't there yet. There's only 14.
But if they got
Oh, half of the conference. You mean half of the
supers,
field.
yeah.
Yeah. Yes, there are 16. Yes, 7 of 16 would be almost half. 7 of 14 is half. Yeah, I got you. My bad.
now we're on the same page. 'Cause
Now we're
I
on
see
the
where
s-
you're at.
Uh-huh.
We just crossed each other on the way back. It's okay.
Yeah.
But
Bear with us.
it just keeps proving though that this is one of the reasons that Auburn got to host is because the SEC is so tough. Now, LSU, Arkansas, Kentucky, and Texas A&M could all lose.
Never would have thought anybody would go into Arkansas and beat the Hogs 20-5. But at the same time, when you get into these tournaments and your pitching gets a little off kilter, things happen.
And sometimes your pitching can get off kilter on purpose. And that's
I see where you're
completely different ball game, literally. But
going. Go ahead.
well,
Since you're there.
no, I don't want to talk softball just yet. But I think what we saw in some of these super regionals is Tennessee, teams like Tennessee who were more confident in their late arms. Tennessee only threw 3 pitchers against Clemson in 14 innings.
Yep.
Clemson threw 11. And so that's how you understanding your pitching.
Well, and what Tennessee did with its pitching over the course of the season, I mean, Chase Burns, who went 6 1/3 in that Clemson game on Saturday, he had been a weekend starter at the beginning of the season. I mean, they've got a bunch of guys that are stretched out.
Yeah.
And so.
Kirby threw 1 pitch. One pitch.
Isn't that crazy?
The
That's
entire
crazy.
weekend. So
But I mean, Burns and Halverson coming out of the pen Saturday night were nails. And again, Burns going 6 1/3. Going 6 1/3 when KP, the analyst for ESPN, what's his name? The guy that pitched at Stanford. I can't remember his name, but was lobbying for him to come out like 2 innings earlier than he did. Said he's gassed, and then he got back-to-back strikeouts right afterwards to end an inning. Yeah.
tell me, now that we're hindsight, looking back, think last year, think this year, why would you ever want to win a game in Hoover?
I don't think it's that simple.
It's not, but
Because, I mean, look at Texas A&M.
sure, they needed that. They needed the momentum, right? But a team like Vanderbilt, did they need the momentum?
Vanderbilt's issues were many. But one of Vanderbilt's issues was their pitching was not what we've come to expect it to be this time of year, even as
Sure.
we talked to Kevin Ingram last week, and we talked to Chris Lee. And
But how much of that was affected by winning a championship at Hoover?
they won that championship on Sunday. They didn't play again until Friday. I mean, I don't know.
I'm asking. I don't know.
I don't think their run in the SEC tournament affected their pitching to the point that was a factor this weekend. I think their effectiveness was a factor, but I don't know that goes back to Hoover. I think they were like 3 of 25 with runners in scoring position.
They didn't hit the ball very well at all. And that happened in Tennessee last year. They didn't hit the ball in the super regionals.
Right.
After sweeping through Hoover, sweeping through the regional tournament, and got to the supers and couldn't hit water if they fell out of a boat.
Yeah.
Sometimes in baseball, you just go dry.
Yeah, and I mean, again, to Kevin Ingram's point last week, I mean, there are teams, there are programs that are programmed that if there's a game, we're going to win it. And
Yep.
it kind of makes sense. So,
Oklahoma down Stanford. They will play in the championship series. I know we're all shocked to hear that and surprised, but
they're like cockroaches, man. You can't kill them.
you cannot kill them.
You can't kill them.
Clemson tried. When Clemson lost that game too, that was when I knew that it was going to be tough.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing about that. Even if Clemson had won that game, they had to come back and win another one.
Yeah, but just winning one is almost impossible because you can't
Well,
kill
clearly,
them.
because what are they now? 52 straight?
Mm-hmm. We'll take a break here on Main Street Sports Day presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. David Ubben standing by. We'll talk SEC football after this, so stick around. We'll be back to the Lee Company studio in just a moment. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports Day presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. I'm Chris Yow, joined as always by Mo Patton. Glad to have you guys with us here on this Reaction Monday as we continue to react to all that happened last week at the SEC football spring meetings. And sometimes it's easier just to get someone who knows more than we do. And that's what we did today, bringing in from The Athletic, David UBBEN. David, welcome in. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Mo, nice shirt, buddy.
Yeah. It's almost like we planned it, huh? Yeah.
Jeez.
Loving your taste, man. Appreciate it. David, is the biggest thing to come out of the SEC spring meetings that they are going to go 1-7 for the 2024 football schedule? I mean,
So I'll go mild correction. It won't be a 1-7. They're going to sort of draw this schedule up in the dirt, similar to the way that they did in 2020. You're going to have road games that are not returned the following year. Basically, they want to get all the rivalry games in with the idea that this is a one-year plan. Now, that's a pretty strong piece of evidence that they'll be going to 9 in the future, but I don't think that's a guarantee. I had 2 separate administrators basically tell me, kind of after the fact, after the vote, I talked to a few and kind of said, hey, should we assume that you're going to 9 in 2025? And the answer I got was that, the old idiom about what assuming does. And so I think they will go to 9, but I will stop short of assuming. But no, the 2024 schedule is going to be pretty random. They want to sort of lean on the unpredictability of it in the June 14th SEC Network special. But it is going to be basically sort of a made-up schedule. They want to protect the rivalries, so they're not going to say out loud that Texas and Texas A&M are going to be playing, but Texas and Texas A&M are going to be playing. I think you can squeeze in all the rivalries in year one so that you don't have any interruptions of any of those games that people care about. And then in 2025, you sort of see where you're at. But strong indications from Greg Sankey and other people that we will not be back in Destin without some solid feel of where things are going in 2025.
So this whole thing is kind of a made-for-TV type deal. This June 14th schedule release. Is that what they were aiming for when they did this?
I think when they did this, they were aiming for a strong answer of whether or not ESPN was going to pay $80 to $90 million for a 9th game. I think based on going to 8, I don't think those guarantees were there. I don't think, I think they felt like it probably wasn't going to happen. And when you have the league looking around saying, so I'm supposed to sacrifice probably a home game, lose control of my schedule, and get a tougher schedule with no guarantee of more money, I think you're looking around the room saying, why are we doing this again? So you can call people chickens, whatever you want to say, but these are decisions made at the presidential and the athletic director level. And I think the last indication was, somewhere around 5 schools wanted to go to 9 in the current state. And that's not even anywhere close to a majority. So, money, I think they could talk about factors, talk about information, talk about all these things. I am skeptical that this is any more complicated than, do we get more money from the networks or do we not? And I think right now the answer is probably not, but maybe. And that wasn't compelling enough to say, all right, 2024, we're going to 9.
So that said, it's obvious that with Texas and Oklahoma coming in 2025, there will be more money. And so going to 9 games at that point will be more financially prudent then? Is that the way you connect those dots?
Presumably. Again, I think you're talking about assuming. There's no guarantee that that's the case. There's nothing in writing that says specifically an escalator for those things. Now, I know how TV works and how the networks work, and surely if you're delivering more one of the crudest terms I don't love for football games, inventory. When you're delivering more inventory, you should probably prepare for a higher price. But we'll see if that's actually the case. I would say probably. I think 9 makes a lot of sense, but you got to get sort of paid for it. And I don't know that was necessarily going to happen. On the ESPN side of things, I'm always skeptical when I hear about, ESPN crying and penny pinching, because when ESPN really wants something, they always find money for it. I think,
Pat McAfee.
Like Pat McAfee.
Yeah, exactly. The optics of laying a bunch of people off and then paying $85 million or whatever it was for Pat McAfee. Hey, when they really want something, they're going to find it. So, it is what it is.
It's interesting because I'm curious and this is completely off topic, but kind of on the money side. The Longhorn Network, is that going to stay around?
No, the Longhorn Network is dead.
Okay.
That is, I think it's been dead for 6 or 7 years. It's just a matter of when, not if. I mean, that contract was never going to get extended. It was a 15-year deal that they signed, I want to say in 2011, maybe it was 10. So you're already at the point where you can sort of negotiate it away and kind of make it disappear. But then obviously with the SEC membership, the third tier rights, I think everyone sort of agreed, yeah, this needs to go away. It would have been maybe a little bit more complicated in a Big 12 world, what Texas would have done. But I think that was probably a powerful motivator as well for Texas to say, hey, peace out. We're gonna see.
This isn't working. Okay, I was just curious. That was completely off topic, but
it's a fair question, though. I mean, it makes sense.
I remember when that was a nuclear reactor of a topic, and Texas picked not the best time for their football program to tank. So that sort of tanked the value of the network in a lot of ways. But I think the usage of it was, when you have one game a year, and it's Rice or Kansas or whoever, if you're not the hardest of hardcore Texas fans, or you don't know how to access illegal streams, you're not that motivated to pony up for the Longhorn Network. Like, it is what it is. There's a lot of great people that work there. Lowell Galindo has done a great job as kind of the face of the network. They've trained up some really good people on the network. But at the end of the day, it's not a necessity in the same way that the conference networks, outside the Pac-12 networks, have kind of become.
Going back to 9, I guess the question then becomes 2 permanents and 7 rotating, or 3 and 6?
It'll be 3 and 6. Yeah, it'll be 3 and 6, and that'll protect everything. I didn't get a strong answer of does everyone have to have 3? I think that's actually an interesting question, because in some places, like Tennessee's actually a pretty good example. You could, in theory, get out to 5 that you'd like to keep every year. When you talk about Kentucky and Vanderbilt and Alabama and Florida and Georgia and all these things. You can talk about all these things. Now, they're not going to protect all those every year. I don't think it'd be the end of the world if Auburn and Tennessee don't play. I mean, not if Auburn, if Tennessee and Georgia don't play every year, or Tennessee and Vanderbilt or Kentucky don't play every year. We'll see. It wouldn't be the end of the world for people. But then there's some schools, I guess Arkansas or Missouri sort of jump out as like, hey, if you want to have 3 guaranteed quote unquote rivalry games, you're probably pushing it a little bit. So I didn't ever get an answer to that of maybe it would have, but I'm assuming that just about everybody will have 3 every year that you have. Now, one thing that I don't think a lot of people are talking about is that there's some uncomfortableness in the room that if you don't have a conference neutral site game in the way that Texas and Oklahoma have in Dallas, or the cocktail party in Jacksonville, that every other year you're only playing 5 SEC road games. That's a lot. So, if you have a peak year and you say, hell, we're going to have to go to LSU, you're going to have to go to the Swamp, and you're going to have to also go to Auburn, that's a tall order for a lot of people that I think there's some level of I don't love that. So, I wonder if there's a possibility that you might see some more conference games at neutral sites to sort of save that concept and not have the unbalanced years. But that's one topic of conversation that didn't get a lot of run last week.
David, about that. That's interesting.
David Ubben of The Athletic joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Speaking of things that aren't getting discussed, David, has anybody raised the question of basketball?
Not that I've heard. I think you got to tackle the football schedule
Nobody
first
cares.
and figure it out. I mean, it is what it is. Like, football drives the bus. Basketball, we'll figure everything else out. Is the Big 12 strategy in terms of, hey, let's call up UConn, let's call up Gonzaga, is there a strategy that, hey, if this break happens in the future, do we want a world in which the NCAA tournament, whatever that looks like, cannot happen without the Big 12's access? That's an interesting question. I think that's something of a strategy. But, yeah, when it comes to the everyday, every year money, I mean, the football is the only thing that matters. And I think, it's been that way for a long time, and it's not going to change anytime soon. I think when you look at television and the changing landscape of streamers and all this streaming services and DVR and all that stuff, live sports is still the biggest drawer, and nothing draws like NFL football and college football. So, it is what it is.
The spring meetings were not just about the schedule, although that was the major topic that comes out of it. But obviously, championship sites. We talked about this about baseball and Hoover, but I'm curious if there was any indication that we might see some movement in other sports in championships, a la football.
I think they're open to it. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Hoover makes a lot of sense. I think they're really well supported by the company or by the city. So, I think they're open to taking bids and discussing it. I think the state of Texas, what about Globe Life Park? Do we want to do that? I think that there's a roof there. It's a little bit of a place that will be new to some folks, good weather, all that stuff. So I think they're open to it, but I would be surprised if we saw it in the next 3 or 4 years, something change on that front. And then football, no discussion. Certainly, Mercedes-Benz is going to be home for the foreseeable future.
Do you see baseball moving to the edge of the conference footprint like that by going to Globe Life? I mean,
not permanently, but maybe a one-off. I think when you have, Arkansas fans, there's a ton in Dallas, Texas. I mean, Dallas, you have Oklahoma has a ton of fans in Dallas. You have Texas A&M, Arkansas. That's a ton of people in Dallas. Missouri has some people in Dallas. I mean, that's a good chunk of schools. They'll be able to put some fans in the seats. You're not going to probably certainly sell that out, but you'll put people there. And so not every year in a tradition the way that Hoover is, but I think once in a while, once every few years, I could see that happening. But I think some of that's up to Hoover. Does Hoover keep the ballpark up where they want? Continue to sort of roll out the red carpet, continue to put people in the stands. If they do all those things, there's a compelling reason to keep it there. So we'll see.
When we talk about this conference expansion and all the other sports that are affected, doesn't really matter. But what is the future of the SEC? I mean, the fact is that conference expansion isn't stopping.
Mm-hmm.
And do you see a time where, even in basketball, where they might go after some basketball-only schools like the Big 12 is talking about? Or, does this become a 20-team conference in the next 5 years?
I don't think the SEC has a lot of interest in that route. I think until the ACC's grant of rights, becomes something that is fiscally responsible to get out of, which seems like that may be a decade down the road. I don't necessarily see that. And I think even if you get to that point, there is certainly a lot of disagreement about, okay, well, all people always assume Florida State and Clemson. We sure Florida State and Clemson add the value that the SEC would want. I tell you who you look out for is North Carolina. That would be a very interesting one. You have your conference network headquarters in the state. That's a new territory for the league. So people can assume Florida State and Clemson on the basis of football brands, and that does matter. And I do think that there's a decent chance, and that would be an interesting discussion when you get to the point where you can really even have that discussion, which based on the ACC's grant of rights, you can't. But I tell you what, North Carolina would be the school that I would be looking out for if I'm talking about future SEC expansion.
It's a new market for the SEC, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you think in those terms, who's the other one? Because they're not going to go one, they're going to go two. I mean, where else besides North Carolina? I mean, if you're looking at new markets, then not only are Florida State and Clemson not so attractive, but also, Georgia Tech, Miami probably aren't particularly attractive either if you're looking for new markets. So if you're cherry picking the ACC, what's the other team? NC State?
No, I mean, if it were me, I would probably say Florida State, just based on that brand has had more staying power than Clemson. It's a much bigger fan base than Clemson. I think that stuff matters. Clemson, are we sure they're not sort of one bad coaching hire away from becoming mortal again? I think you've seen that success happen. So I would probably say Florida State makes a lot more sense. But, we're still with the ACC's grant of rights. I mean, we've seen this summer. It's going to be a while before those conversations heat up. I think in the Big Ten, those conversations are a little bit more interesting, a little bit more on the forefront with the Pac-12's current situation, depending on what that TV deal looks like and if the Big 12 is able to lure any of those people away. What happens with Oregon and Washington? Does Stanford get a look? Does Cal get a look? I was talking to some people. The question is like, well, football brands have sort of taken the center stage of all this, but at the end of the day, it's still the university presidents that are deciding. And if you get all the university presidents in one room and you say, "Hey guys, how do you feel about adding Stanford into this room?" Like, football's powerful, but at the end of the day, these are academic people making these decisions, and you can sell the idea that, hey, this means more money for everybody in a lot of different ways. So it's an interesting idea, but I think the Big Ten, that's where my eyes in terms of expansion in big ways are sort of more centered at the moment.
I am extremely curious about June 14th. I think this will be the second biggest schedule release of the year behind the NFL. So I am just, this is going to be wild. And the fact that it's even on television is insane to me. But David, that just goes to show in the SEC, it just means more.
That's what they tell you.
It's a bit crazy. But, David, as always, we appreciate you taking some time with us today, man, and giving us some insight into that, into the meetings and all of that. So we look forward to talking to you again over the summer and looking forward to the news on the new podcast.
Yeah, thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Hey, one more thing before we let you go.
Mm-hmm.
I assume you'll be in Nashville July 17th through 20th?
Now, Mo, we've already talked about what assuming does, right?
We have, but I feel pretty safe on this one, though.
TBD. We have not really had those discussions just yet. I think for our purposes, I'm like maybe the least big proponent of SEC Media Days because that, especially for what we do, that you can really accomplish that much. I was, a little bit more excited this year about Pac-12 Media Days, but I don't think I'm going to be able to go to that. I've got some other family stuff to deal with around that, so I'm not sure I'm going to be able to go. But in general, the SEC Media Days is such a zoo that, we'll see. We'll see. I wouldn't guarantee it. I would say probably more likely than not, but we haven't really gotten that far in what we're doing. So,
well, if you come, find us on Radio Row. We'll be there.
Sounds good.
And come hang out.
We'll do.
All right. Thanks, David.
Take care.
David UBBEN here with us on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. We'll take a break, talk a little baseball, as the Braves get 2 of 3 from the Diamondbacks, but some roster moves today. We'll tell you what those are right after this.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think about calling for a ride. Nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that can happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone.
Tired of hanging lights every year? We get it. That's why Southern Nights is here to help. We install programmable lighting on your home or business so you can enjoy beautiful, customizable lighting all year round. No more ladders, tangled lights, or cold nights outside. We do the work, you do the celebrating. Call Southern Nights today and take the hassle out of holiday lighting forever. For a free quote, give us a call at 931-241-3074 or visit our Facebook page at Southern Nights.
Vroom, vroom, time for the Rackley Roofing 200, and it is going to be June 23rd out at the Nashville Super Speedway. And we partnered up, all of us here at Main Street Media TV, and we have joined with Rackley Roofing to send you. Yep, what you got to do to win, all you got to do is go to your favorite Main Street Media website, look for the Enter to Win banner, click there, and you're in. Like Flynn. Isn't that cool? Main Street Media TV and Rackley Roofing sending you to the races.
There is nothing better than drinking an ice-cold beverage while taking in a Nashville Sounds baseball game. Hi, I'm Stephanie Miller with Mornings on Main Street. The Nashville Sounds and Main Street Media Television have teamed up to promote Sunday Family Fun Day here at First Horizon Park. each Sunday home game. Just go to your favorite Main Street Media website and click on Sounds Main Street Media Day banner to register to win free tickets. And then we'll see you here at the ballpark.
Hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd, the goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Experience Predators hockey all season long. Visit NashvillePredators.com/season tickets and join the Loyal Legion today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets, and we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
Music City will be rocking June 23rd through the 25th with a different sound. The sound of NASCAR. The Ally 400 is back at Nashville Superspeedway, and this year, it's a night race. NASCAR in Nashville. It's guitars and fast cars under the lights. Visit NashvilleSuperspeedway.com to get your tickets today for the triple header weekend.
June 5th, 2008, with his solo home run in the sixth inning of the Braves' 7-5 win over visiting Florida, Chipper Jones became the third switch hitter in Major League history to reach the 400-homer milestone. Jones, who went 4 for 5 in the comeback victory, joined Mickey Mantle and Eddie Murray in reaching the number. That was this day in Braves history.
As far as switch hitters go, man, those three, it's pretty much that's
them
the
and
Mount
everybody
Rushmore.
else, pretty much. Yeah. And I mean, to your Mount Rushmore point, I don't even know who the fourth person
right,
would be.
Yeah, that's a best switch hitters of all time would be. I don't know.
I don't know who your fourth one is.
Well, Bleacher Report had a slideshow. I know you're shocked to hear that.
I am shocked to hear that.
Pete Rose was apparently a switch hitter.
He was.
Well, then that's your four.
Is it? I mean, he's only the all-time leader in hits.
I mean, outside of that, I mean, Roberto Alomar is maybe number 5.
Tim Raines.
Okay. Now we're off the rails, Mo. I don't think Tim Raines is a bad hit. I don't think he's anywhere close to those 4. So.
Well, I think that's the point. And I'm not sure that Pete Rose, 4,200 hits aside, is close to those 3.
No, I mean, because
and again, those 3 guys each hit 400 career homers plus.
And could do it from either side. Yeah.
Pete Rose hit 160 home runs for his career.
Oof. I'll tell you what, though, 4,200 hits and only 150. The law of averages would like a word. You think a guy that makes that much contact will be able to put a few more over the wall? Apparently
well, I mean,
not.
he was baseball's version of a slapper, though, in softball to a great degree. So.
Yeah, he just found a hole and was able to
just tap it in.
There you go. Braves with a big series win over the weekend, Mo. Huge. Needed both of those wins on Saturday and Sunday to preserve a split of the road trip.
Mm-hmm.
Was able to do that. And after losing,
in rather dramatic fashion, by the way.
After losing 2 of 3 to the worst team in Major League Baseball, you take 2 of 3 on the road from National League's probably second best team.
Arguably.
Yeah, they're in the conversation. And Eddie Rosario was not only heroic on Sunday, but he had a heck of a weekend overall.
But he put the exclamation point on it in his final at bat at Chase Field.
Eddie goes through these spurts, man, where he's as good a hitter as there is in the game.
Well, and if you remember, this time last week, Braves Twitter was ready to do everything but release this guy.
Heck, we were too. I mean, we had some conversations about Eddie Rosario, and it's like, he heard us. He read you. It's almost like every time we go to
Twitter. Clearly, he's on Twitter.
It's almost like every time somebody gets trashed on Twitter, they go crazy. So,
except Michael Harris.
But he's gonna come around.
He did draw the walk that got things started in the top of the 9th last night.
And once again, Matt Olson strikes out.
Yeah, I didn't think we were going to work around that one either.
But his strikeout rate over the last month has decreased to just 23%. So only one out of every 4 at-bats he strikes out.
Just 23%. Well, what's he got, 17 home runs?
Exactly. That's what you're going to get. It's feast or famine with this guy, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. You got to be okay with it.
You really do. Because, I mean, you're not going to sit him. You're not going to move him. So, I mean, Matt Olson is as truly it is what it is as there is in the Braves lineup.
Yeah, I would love if he was a little less prone to errors on defense, but I'm going to take what we get from him and be very happy with it because he's only going to get better over the next 7 years of this contract, and we're going to be better off with Matt Olson at first base.
Who would you rather have?
Who would I rather have? Maybe Freddie, but only because money's not an option. If money's not an option, it's probably Freddie. But the problem
this guy's doing what he's doing at 2 years of age younger than Freddie.
The difference is that, for me, is that this is our window. I think on the backside of the contract, Olson's going to be more valuable.
I also feel like Matt Olson is a better fit
in the organization.
In the clubhouse.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that completely.
I think other players on that team, on that roster, are better able to be who they are with Matt Olson there than with Freddie Freeman there.
But that's a big part of it. If we're just talking about on-field production, I'd rather have Freddie's production.
Right.
But
maybe
it's a little better. But it's not so much that I'd rather have Ozzie and Ronnie and
Arcia,
Orlando Arcia for that matter, playing looser, playing
looser.
Better.
Yeah.
I mean, they play better when they play loose.
Yeah.
And so
most people do.
Yeah. And so I think it's funny because a lot of and this is completely off subject, but on what we're talking about, Freddie Freeman would be the consummate Yankee. He would.
Traditionally. I don't even know what the Yankees are
Aaron Judge
these days.
Aaron Judge is the consummate Yankee. But if Freddie Freeman were a Yankee, it would make so much sense.
Yeah.
And I hate to say that, but it's so true.
Yeah, because it's not a compliment.
It's not. It really isn't. You know what I say? You know what we're really missing in this Freddie Matt Olson debate? Matt's wife's got to do something. She's got to unlock her Instagram. She's got her social media locked down. I'm telling you.
You know why? Because she's not going to be Chelsea.
You're never going to be Chelsea, maybe, but I don't know. I think Braves social media would take her in like they did Chelsea and Charlie. But I get it. I'm just saying that's one thing that kind of softened some of Freddie's leaner moments, was that we loved his family. So they were like our family. So it was almost like, we can't really talk bad about the fam, on Twitter. So that's just I'm just saying, maybe loosen up the strings on your social media. Mike Soroka has been. I'm sorry, you're right. Michael Soroka has been optioned to AAA Gwinnett. Max Fried to the 60-day IL, but according to Mark Bowman, it's just a procedural move to make room on the 40-man for the infielder that they just signed off waivers.
Who is Lucas Williams? Is that who that was?
Yes.
Who is Lucas Williams?
Exactly.
And why? Why did we sign him?
Why do we need him to play infield in Gwinnett? That is the question.
I don't know who this guy is. Selected in the 3rd round of the 2015 Major League Baseball draft by the Phillies, 26 years old. Most recently, he was with the Marlins, I guess. I don't know. Oh, claimed him from the Dodgers.
Yeah. If the Dodgers can't use him with the infield that they have right now, what do we need him for?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand.
Listed as an infielder, but has played all of the non-catcher position player spots in his career. If he were to take over for Charlie Culberson as the last bench player, this would be a modest improvement over Charlie, who has not played since his call-up. This according to batterypower.com. Let's talk just a little bit about this Soroka situation.
Sure.
Because I'm not sure exactly what the expectations were for him when he came up. I'm sure an 8+ ERA isn't it. But at the same time, I don't know. I don't. Watching him pitch against Oakland earlier in the week and against Arizona yesterday, it didn't look like an 8.38 ERA to me.
No, he had a couple of those Tom Glavine innings.
Yeah.
And yesterday, if he'd only been required to get 2 outs in each of his last 2 innings, he'd been great.
The third one was a doozy.
The third out was a little tough to get. But you're right. I don't understand why you would call him up and then not let him work it out.
Yeah, and especially, the talk was that when we call him up, he'll be up for good. And I know that there are extenuating circumstances, and you can't hold people to that kind of thing, but I just don't know that what you saw out of him was bad enough that you couldn't give him another start.
No, especially when your other option is a bullpen game.
Or A.J. Smith-Shawver, which I assume.
Well, even with Shawver, you still have bullpen game in there, right?
Pretty much.
Because you've got Elder.
You got Elder.
Morton, Strider.
You got Strider.
And that's it. So I don't know why you don't just keep both of them. And like I said,
unless you got Schuster, most likely.
Like I said, I don't know why he wouldn't. Look, Schuster's he's gotten better. Mm-hmm. He has gotten better. I will say that. I'm not going to slander this dude today, but it could. I still think Michael Soroka, with his experience, gives you the better chance as a starter.
He's got some things to work out. The guy had not pitched regularly in the major leagues in 3 years.
Yeah.
I don't know.
On the flip side, though.
Good Lord, don't go to Braves Twitter.
On the flip side, though, we get to see Michael Soroka in Nashville next week, probably. So good for us.
Good for us.
Good for us, bad for Michael. But, yeah, there was at Austin Riley's charity golf tournament this morning, Soroka said he knew his last 2 outings weren't his best, but said, quote, "I don't see why I can't go back out there and show everyone what I'm capable of right now because I know it's there." Mm-hmm. So he didn't even know this morning.
Well, they didn't want to ruin his 18 holes.
I guess.
Call us when you get off the course.
That's even worse. That's going to mess up my golf game and my that's like your wife saying we need to talk at 9 o'clock in the morning. You
As you go out the door?
Yeah. When you get home, we need to talk. What? About what? Hold on. I'm calling in sick.
No, let's just go ahead and talk now. No, I've had that conversation. Let's just talk now. I'll be late.
Let's talk now.
Yeah.
All right, that's going to do it for Braves Chatter today. We'll go to the NBA Finals with Joseph Sullivan right after this. So you guys stick around here with us on Main Street Sports today. We'll be back to the Lee Company studio in just a moment. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Welcome back to Today's Better Health. I'm Colleen Barton, and I'm here with Dr. Gil Kentoff and Dr. Wendy Toohey, and we're talking about the latest treatments in back and neck pain.
Many people, Colleen, come to see us with neck and back pain, and they develop tingling and numbness down the arm or lower back pain that develops into sciatica shooting down their leg. And for these patients, we have an advanced treatment technology, non-surgical decompression therapy that we really introduced to this area. It separates the vertebrae and creates a suction to allow fluids and nutrients back in to heal the disc naturally, relieving pressure on the nerve and on the joint. It's an amazing treatment.
We've been helping patients like this for the last 30 years, helping them get back to work, get back to their family, get back to the life they want to live.
I mean, it really is amazing. Technology helping us to live pain-free and better lives. Right. And I bet you have a special offer.
The first 25 callers will receive an examination, x-rays, review of our findings, and their first treatment, all for $39.
Call 615-551-3897 today to receive this special offer.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yow and Mo Patton here with you on this Reaction Monday. We are getting ready to react to a little NBA Finals as the Miami Heat take advantage of the situation in Denver, much like they've done the entire postseason thus far, and even up the series at 1 last night with that 111-108 win, prompting some folks to say Denver was lackadaisical in their approach. And after the dominating performance in Game 1, a lot of folks, myself included, thought this was going to be a quick, fast, and in a hurry finals. Instead, it has not been. So now we go to our friend Joseph Sullivan, who joins us now. And he's muted right now. Maybe we can unmute him. But wasn't necessarily expecting to talk to him.
I muted myself, Chris, because I didn't want to. I didn't want to interfere with all that moaning and groaning about the Atlanta Braves.
There's plenty of it to do.
All that moaning and groaning about the best team in the National League, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's what we do.
Yeah, well, I get it. I understand. You probably muted it because you didn't want to hear it, right? Yeah, I get it. But Joe, what do you make of this NBA Finals series to this point? I mean, Denver looked, relatively dominant in Game 1 behind Jokic, and not so much last night.
So I'm with you guys. I actually had similar thoughts after Game 1 that this would be done pretty quickly. But I guess we all have to stop underestimating the Miami Heat and give them credit for a grittiness, a toughness, which is tough to measure. It's not going to show up in the analytics necessarily. You can't measure it, but this is a team that is really mentally tough, and it's also very well coached. They made their adjustments. Now, the post-game press conference last night, I thought Eric Spoelstra was kind of like mean to Ramona Shelburne from ESPN.
Unnecessarily so.
Yes. When she asked a question about, like, is their idea to make Jokic a scorer rather than a passer?
Mm-hmm.
And he just didn't want to hear it. The untrained eye, it's like, it's a good expression. And it seems to me that, and this is proven true throughout the playoffs, when he has scored 40 or more points, they've lost all 3 games. So,
and, it might have been an untrained eye, but I think that there were a lot of untrained eyes in that a lot of people kind of had that same question. Ramona was just the one that was unfortunate enough to ask it, I guess. It just really seemed unnecessary. And I think his reaction kind of covered up a bigger thing, that was exactly what they were doing.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's guard the shooters and don't help on him. I mean, I think that's a conscious strategy.
Well, I mean, you see it. You've seen it on more than one occasion in basketball. Let him get his 40 and make sure nobody else does.
Yeah, it's more dangerous to let him pass to the 3-point shooters, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
And when Chris, you talked about the people being tough on the on the Nuggets, no one tougher than Mike Malone, their coach. He really ripped into them about how for attitude and not playing hard enough, and also saying this is the NBA Finals. How can we be like this? And so he's definitely going to get tough on his team, I think, and I assume we'll see a reaction in Game 3. I mean, one thing the Nuggets have to do, which they did better in Game 1, is they just have to play faster. You don't want to get into a slower game with the Heat, and they sit back in that zone defense, and then they run the clock down, and then Jimmy Butler drives into the lane and makes a play. You got to get the game going faster, get down court, get easier shots, get Murray with the ball on the move. I think I would really be surprised if we didn't see just a faster pace from Denver in Game 3 and going forward.
It's always interesting to me when you look at the box scores of guys you don't necessarily expect to be big-time scorers. And Gabe Vincent, point guard, obviously that's not really his game, but leads the team last night. 3 guys scoring over 20 for the Heat. It was almost like that they figured something out on the offensive side, and maybe that's it. Maybe that was, Denver just played right into their hands. But it just feels like this is a team that you look at from our perspective is kind of like the old school 80s type basketball teams where they're gonna run the clock down, they're gonna find somebody open, and that's what Gabe Vincent does. But last night he was able to shoot the ball and really, really well, especially from outside the arc. How sustainable is that?
Well, I do think the Nuggets are going to win the series. I just think they're the better team personnel wise. But geez, I remember I was texting with people. My old friend Bob Ryan from the Globe saying the Celtics are going to win this series. After they won Game 4, and Bob said, I don't know. He knows more than me. And it is. I still think Denver will win this series. I think they'll adjust. I think Malone has a proper amount of outrage to drive his team with. But am I again underestimating the grittiness and toughness of the Heat? And guys like Vincent, who's been great this whole playoffs, he was tremendous against the Celtics. And honestly, I thought that's what you guys wanted to have me on for, because you figure he played at Santa Barbara, and you figure I might have seen him.
Yeah, you saw him in college, I'm sure. Well, it wasn't just I think the biggest difference in Game 1 and Game 2 was exactly what Jimmy Butler said after Game 1 was we have to be more attack the basket more. They went to the line 20 times in Game 2 versus 2 in Game 1. That's the difference in the ball game. And by the way, we're 18 of 20 when they got there.
Yeah, they're great at that. So look, Denver has to guard without fouling. They have to, and they can't put them on the line that much. That's another adjustment they have to make. I mean, it's easier said than done when Jimmy Butler is, taking you down low, and then he gets the turnaround jumper and you whack him. But they really do have to avoid that happening, getting such a disadvantage at the foul line. I mean, that's how Miami wins games. I think what you said is absolutely right. What they do, and I do think I think in general, basketball, NBA's, especially in the playoffs, is guilty of this. College basketball is guilty of this. Teams need to play faster. I don't see enough fast break basketball at all, like we used to see. And I think Denver needs to do it. And then they have guys that can do it. I noticed in the Lakers series that Jokic was beating Anthony Davis down the court consistently when they came on the break. I don't know if that's a plus for Jokic or a minus for Davis, but Denver is formidable when they're playing fast. They just need to really push the accelerator here.
Joseph Sullivan, former Boston Globe sports editor, joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Joe, as you talk about pace of play, traditionally that does slow down in postseason play, though, does it not?
It does,
It just feels like possessions are more valued the deeper into the postseason you go.
Yeah, and I was actually Andy Klockner. Do you know Andy? He's on Twitter
Mhm.
and very much a analytic guy and a good writer too. But he was talking about how in limited possessions, which Miami wants to limit, I think there was 90 possessions in this game last night, and I'm attributing it all to him. I didn't realize that. That when they make enough threes out of 90 possessions, they're going to win. And so 3-point shooting is also critical for Miami. They're gonna limit the possessions, and they got to make enough threes, and they got to shoot the free throws, Chris. So, boy, I sound like I'm leaning toward Miami when I say that, darn it.
Well, and here's the thing. Look, I'm about tired of discounting Miami at this point. It's getting awfully frustrating.
It's almost like do so at your own peril at this point. I mean, you've discounted them all the way to the NBA Finals, and you've discounted playoff Jimmy all the way to the NBA Finals. And that guy, I mean, as much as Joker does for Denver, Jimmy Butler just we talked about Oklahoma softball and cockroaches, how you can't kill them. I mean, Jimmy Butler seems to kind of fall into that category as well at this point.
What a competitor. If you were going to measure competitiveness, he's going to have the highest grade of anyone. He really is amazing in that way. And I guess if you looked at natural talent, I mean, there's lots of players that have more than he does. And it's going back to his career, he didn't have very many offers to play in college. He ended up at Marquette with Buzz Williams, and he became a great player there. But he was not supposed to be a great player at Marquette. And even then, he wasn't the best player on their team. And he's a second-round draft pick. And he is – how about the Philadelphia 76ers? You want to look about mistakes made by a franchise. I mean, starting with that ridiculous process stuff that all it means we're going to lose so we can draft guys who are going to get hurt. And they trade Jimmy Butler. I mean, that is just a travesty. And it's we can look at, the other wish they had him now thing is the Celtics had Max Strus in camp 2 years ago and let him go and kept the guy as their 15th guy who never played. And and then he wound his way to Miami, and look at how he played last night. Boy, if he's going to shoot like that, he's going to be really dangerous.
I'm not sure who is still in Boston from the Max Strus, but I don't know that there's anybody still in Philadelphia in a decision-making position that was there when that Jimmy Butler move went down, which probably speaks volumes to how well that's gone over.
Yeah, I think you're right, absolutely. But the Celtics, it's Brad Stevens and Danny Ainge was there then, but it was the people that made the decision in Boston are still there. And look, mistakes like that are going to happen, but are going to happen. But it's interesting to point out that the Celtics could have used a shooter against the Heat, and
yeah,
and he was playing for the other team.
Instead, he was with the Heat.
Yeah.
Before we let you go, I want to get your take, based on what you've seen over the years. John Morant, Adam Silver says that his punishment will be handed down after the finals. What do you think is going to happen?
Oh boy! So he had 8 games the first time he did something. So it'll be something much more than that. I mean, it has to be. I think we're probably looking in terms of 20 to 25 games, perhaps. And
that was the number we threw out, but we were seeing some 40, and I didn't think it was quite that crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like he fired the gun, right? I mean, it's
not like he fired the gun, not like he brought the gun into an arena. You know what kind of friends does he have that they're taking these videos and they're putting him up? I mean, don't they realize what they're doing to him?
Apparently,
it's a valid question.
He doesn't have those friends anymore, from what I understand.
No, I wouldn't exactly call him friends. And look, he seems like a good guy when you see him on the court, and just read the
way
things
he reacts with fans.
And on Twitter, he's kind of funny. One time, someone posted a video of him making this spectacular layup, and they said, "How did John Morant do this?" And he replied to it and said, "I walked." and he did. And it just, I see that sense of humor, and it doesn't go with the gun thing to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. It's
Well, hopefully he gets some things figured out with this next NBA sanctioning, which is coming as soon as the finals get over with, I guess. So.
Yeah. So you guys agree, 20 to 25, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a quarter of the season is probably about where it's going to fall. So we'll see.
Well, I wish him the best. I think he's a spectacular player. I've always liked his attitude, and I did see him play in Murray, not in person, but of course, I was living in Boston then. But make sure I see the games when they were on, the few times they were on, and I just love his game, and he's great for basketball, and I hope he solves this.
We do too, because we kind of like watching Memphis play with him.
Yep.
So, Joseph, we appreciate it as always, man. Looking forward to talking to you again soon. And in your preseason rankings, where's FAU?
Well, I heard of, I was listening to a podcast, a college basketball podcast in June, Guilty as Charged, and someone had them fourth. And I'm like, wow, really? I know they went to the Final Four, but
they lose nobody. They kept their coach.
Yeah.
And I think a top 5 preseason ranking is I think it's warranted.
Yeah. Well, I guess we could, except that, it's in the tournament that they succeeded. It's I'm looking forward to see what their regular season schedule is going to look like. I predict this. They could win. Who's going to play them?
Right.
So they'll have a lot of winnable games, Right. So they probably will be top 10, top 5 because they're going to have a great record, I think.
Hey, if North Carolina can catapult one getting hot through the tournament to a number 1 preseason ranking, FAU can be top 5, right?
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Yep.
But no, I'm excited about college basketball, and we're excited about seeing you and talking to you when that rolls around, and looking forward to it again, man.
Always great talking to you guys. I'm going to go back now and look at the transfer portal to see if there's any news today. All right?
There's plenty of it, I'm sure.
Keep us posted, Joe. We appreciate it.
All right. See you guys.
All right.
Transfer portal news, as a matter of fact, Indiana softball all-American freshman team player has entered the portal.
Yeah, I saw.
And a pitcher from Central Arkansas is headed to Bama. After her 3-day unofficial visit during the regional tournament.
Where Middle scored 11 runs on her, you mean?
Yeah.
In 2 games?
I'm just saying.
We talked a little bit about that.
We did.
So
it's out there.
Friend of the show, Marion Angus Combs, posted something on the Indiana transfer and asked, the question, how can the Big Ten really raise its softball, what's the word I'm looking for?
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
While they're losing their superstars.
You can't.
I don't know that you can blame that on the Big Ten, though.
No, but,
level of visibility, I guess, for lack of a better phrase, the profile.
Profile, that's it. Look.
We do what for a living?
And again, well, typically we have time to think about the words.
How is the hash B1G supposed to grow as a conference when it can't hang on to its superstars? As she quote tweets from Justin McLeod at Just Facts Ma'am. Indiana infielder Taryn Kern has entered the transfer portal. During her freshman season in 2023, Kern batted .404 with 23 homers, 13 doubles, 68 ribs, and a 1.520 OPS.
Jeez.
Top 3 finalists for National Freshman of the Year and a second-team All-American.
And
1.52.
And all of the effort from that coaching staff that went into recruiting her, potentially developing her at least to some degree, is gone. And like we said in regards, to the situation at Middle Tennessee State, what's best for the program, what's best for the player isn't always the same thing. But this isn't good for the sport, especially if she goes to Oklahoma or Florida State. Because over time, it's the rich get richer, and that's just the way it is.
But I mean, it's an either or thing. I mean, because you say it can't. That's why the portal has got to have some kind of regulation. If the portal's got some kind of regulation, it ceases to be the portal. It goes back to what we had pre-portal, and we're limiting where kids can go. If she wants to go to Oklahoma, why shouldn't she be able to go to Oklahoma?
I'm just saying, I don't think it's fair to the program. I don't think it's fair to the coaches.
Fair is someplace you go and eat cotton candy and ride rides. I mean, I don't know. Things have not been fair to the athletes for a long time.
But I don't think you completely shift it 180 to make it unfair to the coaches, because then guess what?
Okay, well, how do you balance it?
That's what I'm saying. There's got to be something. Now,
What?
I don't know. But I don't think there's any conversations happening. That's my problem. I don't think there's any conversations happening anywhere of, we might have a problem. How do we address it? At least not at the level that
I
needs to
think
be
maybe
happening.
there's no conversations happening because how do you address it? I mean,
look, I'm fine if there is a waiting period, even if it's 6 months, and maybe you're eligible the next year, but you're not allowed to be in workouts for 6 months, or I don't know. Look,
again, that just goes right back to where we were. That's not a compromise.
No, not necessarily, because the big argument about the transfer portal was what? Coaches can leave anytime they want. Okay, coach leaves, portal's open, free to transfer.
So I can only leave if my coach leaves.
They're the one who put in the effort to not necessarily. No, you can leave. You just got to sit out a set number of a set time.
Which is right back where we were.
No, it's not, because the big issue with the portal was the coaches leaving. That's what I'm saying. That was the biggest argument made for the transfer portal, was that coaches can leave anytime they want. And these kids get stuck with somebody new, and then they're screwed, or they got to go sit out a year. Well, that's a compromise. Your coach leaves, you don't have to sit out. Your coach doesn't leave, and you decide that you just want to go play somewhere better. I mean, it works at the high school level. It keeps people from inside a community from transferring just anywhere willy-nilly.
You think?
I mean, a lot of times, not all the time, but it does. I just think there's got to be some sort of
I hate
barrier.
I hate that coaching staffs find these kids, develop these kids, put these kids on these big stages for them to perform, and then they wind up going somewhere else.
I think the graduate transfer is great.
I think it's unfortunate. But I also hate it when kids get buried in situations where they feel like they can play and they're not getting to.
Well, and that's part of it, though. Okay, well, if you think that you can play, then go somewhere else. But you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose a year. But if that's what you think is best for you, then it's a gamble you got to take. Because otherwise, these kids are just jumping in anytime, anywhere, and then it's hurting. Not only is it hurting the coaches who did all this, it's hurting the players who end up stuck in the portal and don't get out. It's hurting JUCO players who are not getting recruited because of the transfer portal being so full. And it's certainly hurting high school players who aren't getting recruited because those places are already full. This is a domino effect that we've never seen before. And it's because they can just go in with no repercussions. And I just think there's a problem with that.
We're out of time.
We are. We'll have to see you guys tomorrow at 2 o'clock. We'll continue this conversation sometime. Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint. See you then.